All right, now that we got our corner posts set and kind of squared, we're gonna go ahead and fill in the rest of our rib poles for the inner hoops. We just ran a string from opposing corners so we can get a tight string on the corner on the side that we're working on. And then for the greenhouse, we made this board last year. It's got notches on the end, so it holds the anchor poles exactly 4 foot on center. And then we'll just run this little corner level on there as we set them. And then to drive the poles in, when we got our kit last year, I bought this. It's basically just a slug that you put on the end of the line posts so you don't bash it up the tops of the posts with the post driver. And having a gas powered post driver sure does make the job way easier than slamming in with our tractor like we did last year.
I'm not afraid I'm going to smush you.
Yeah, right. So that's what we're up to.
All right, so we got our hoop bender from Bootstrap Farmer. This is the bender that does the 20-foot span hoop bends. So Bootstrap tells you to measure 9 inches from the end of your pole, and that's where you start bending. So we have that mark on our first pole, and we have it on the outside of this strap on the bender. So that's where we're gonna start bending. So we actually have it lined up on the pole where they forged the pole, so we know that we're bending a consistently straight pole when we're doing our bend. So we actually do our bends a little different than the directions from Bootstrap Farmer. Instead of bending every pole the same way, we bend them in sets. The 20-foot hoop is a three pipe span. So we actually will mark the first one 9 inches, put the second one in the end, and do a continuous bend. We also, when we make that connection and we do a first bend and we slide it on the bender, we actually make a line between the 2 pipes so that we know how to line them up and connect them in the future. And we also label them. So for instance, we would do 1A, 1B, and 1C for the 3 pipe set. When we get to the end of the 3 pipe succession, we will measure 9 inches from the end of the last pipe, and we won't bend that so that it matches from one side to the other, the start to the end. The hoop bender comes with the hoop bender and the pipe for finishing off your bends. It's a heavier gauge steel. So this is our bending setup. We have our bender screwed down onto a couple of pallets that are actually screwed together, and we put those on. We have wooden sawhorses that we built. We have those, and we actually have a pallet down here that is screwed to the sawhorses so that I can act as a counterbalance weight. So when Brian is bending the poles, it doesn't tip the whole structure over. And then we also have a stack of pallets with a board, just trying to match the height of everything so that we can try to have really nice straight ridge poles that we're building for our hoop structure. All 11 hoops are bent and ready to be assembled.
All right, next step for our hoop house build is to attach all of our pre-bent hoops. There are 3 sections, and as we stated before, when we bend them in succession with each other as opposed to bending them one at a time. That way everything lines up and you get a nice even bend around the hoop. When we bent it, when we stuck the next pole into the receiving end of the last pole, we marked it, and then we also gave it a number and a letter to make sure each joint lined up and was the same as when we bent them. So all you gotta do is make sure you line up, keep everything nice and tight. Ashley's on the other end pushing or twisting the pipe as I need it. You go ahead and turn it out just a smidge. Yep. That's good. We're just using 3/4 inch self-tapping screws.
All right, so we've got all of our hoops bent, we've got all of our poles in the ground. Now we need to level everything off. So we did not level the spot before we put the posts in. We're just gonna adjust the pole heights with a line level. So we started at our highest point and we're gonna measure, I think we're gonna do about 10 inches, and we're gonna run a line level around and set the height and cut the poles off. Then we can start assembling our hoops to our ground posts, attaching them, and we will start to show what will be the hoop structure. All right, so we got our lines marked on all of our poles, and now Brian's gonna use his bandsaw to cut the poles on the lines, and then we're gonna take the grinder and take the sharp edges off of them, and then we can put our hoops up. So Brian's double checking all of the hoops that we bent, making sure that there's a mark 9 inches from the end on all of them. That's how far we'll put them into the ground post. All right, so we measured and found the half of the pole length for the arch, and measured from the first union off of this front side, and that's where we started putting our hangers. Now we're going to measure between each of these sets of poles and make sure that the top matches before we tighten that ridge pole down. That's how we found that we like to make sure that everything is straight and the same. It helps straighten out any wonky bends that we have on our poles and everything.
Now you are. Ow. my shin. My shinny shin. So if we do 8, it should be every 9 3/4 inches. Eight and a half inches.
Loosely basing the interior of this pig port off of Justin Rhodes' pig port. You can get the full directions on his website. I believe you have to be a member. Definitely worth it. So after I made the doors, 2 of the doors are the top doors, 1 for each paddock that I have inside. So the top doors are gonna have, we have some pieces of cattle panel, so I just cut it to fit, and now I'm attaching it with U-nails. They're 3/4 inch, I think it says on the box, like chicken wire staples. So then the third door that I was making would be the bottom door for the second paddock. And I'm gonna actually put some metal on that, and you'll see that in a second. We've got 6 of them.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So yes.
Yes. Is a yes. Yes, 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 yes,
Stop.
yes.
Excuse me.
Oh, gotta move. We almost didn't make outside today.
Why?
Only.
You go straight.